They canceled my exhibition the night before opening, confident I'd pack up quietly and disappear with my photos. I'm 33, a wildlife photographer who grew up inland and learned patience from waiting hours for animals that never showed. After a decade freelancing, I landed a residency with a coastal conservation nonprofit that promised exposure, mentorship, and a solo show. I moved into a damp apartment above a bait shop, learned the tides, and spent mornings belly down in marsh grass, documenting how development squeezed nesting grounds into slivers. The nonprofit ran on donations and good intentions. Decisions were made by a committee of volunteers who loved slogans more than logistics. I didn't mind. I just wanted the work seen. The images were honest. Eggs camouflaged against trash, birds threading needles of habitat between roads. I cataloged everything, filed permits, and tagged locations responsibly. The show was meant to fund restoration. Rising tensions seeped in as praise turned proprietary. Draft captions came back rewritten to sound triumphant. Credits blurred into collective language. When I asked to keep certain images out of promotional blasts to protect locations, the request was ignored. A glossy brochure appeared with my photos cropped and my name tucked into a footer. I swallowed it. Exposure was the currency I'd been promised. The night before opening, an email landed. The exhibition was postponed due to alignment concerns. The gallery lights would stay off. My stomach dropped. Alignment meant donors. Alignment meant discomfort. I walked to the locked gallery anyway, pressed my forehead to the glass, and saw my frame stacked inside like luggage no one claimed. I went back to my apartment and opened the hard drives. The turning point wasn't anger, it was inventory. Every image carried metadata. Time, lens, GPS generalized for safety, notes on conditions. I had agreements outlining usage limits, signed by the nonprofit's coordinator months earlier. I realized postponement wasn't about alignment. It was about control. A donor-backed campaign had launched that morning featuring my images with a new narrative about progress already achieved. I didn't blast social media. I didn't threaten. I requested a copy of the campaign assets under the nonprofit's transparency policy. I annotated each image with original context and the agreed limitations, then submitted a formal notice to the grantors funding the campaign, attaching the usage agreements and a conservation impact statement, explaining how premature claims could endanger habitats by inviting foot traffic. Resolution arrived through emails that grew careful. The campaign paused. The nonprofit issued a correction acknowledging the images and clarifying outcomes. The exhibition was reinstated, not as a charity add-on, but as an educational event with controlled attendance and proceeds earmarked specifically for restoration. My name moved from the footer to the wall. Opening night was quiet in the best way. People leaned in. They asked how long I waited for the light to break, why certain frames felt uneasy. I answered without speeches. A biologist volunteered to guide visitors through the marsh on limited tours. A donor funded signage instead of slogans. Afterward, the committee apologized without dramatics. They revised policies. It didn't erase the week I spent staring at locked doors, but it made the work safer. The final punchline came as I packed my prints weeks later. They thought canceling a show would cancel a story, but stories rooted in truth don't need stages. They surface wherever evidence meets patience, and they leave footprints no one can crop out.